The breaking point. Ambassador Elena Reyes stood at the viewport of the human embassy on Centauri Station, her reflection ghosting against the stars beyond. 43 years of diplomatic service to Earth, and today would mark either her greatest achievement or her most catastrophic failure. Ambassador, the Council is ready to receive you, her aide, Marcus Chen, announced from the doorway. Elena nodded without turning. And the directive from Earth Command. Confirmed and locked. Operation Silent Dawn is authorized. 78 years. That's how long humanity had been part of the Galactic Alliance. Nearly 8 decades of jumping through hoops, meeting ever-shifting requirements, and watching newer species bypass Earth in privileges and status. Humanity had contributed groundbreaking medical technologies, revolutionary propulsion systems, and elegant solutions to interspecies communication barriers. Yet the Big Three, the ancient Myriad, the calculating Vaishine, and the militaristic Dorneri, continued to classify humans as a developing species unworthy of full alliance rights. Then it's time, Elena said, straightening her uniform. The small golden earth insignia on her collar felt particularly heavy today. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Alliance was a marvel of engineering and aesthetics, a vast hemispherical room with thousands of seats arranged in concentric rings, each environmental zone carefully calibrated for the hundreds of different species that made up the Alliance. At the center stood the speaker's platform, where High Chancellor Tolvec of the Myriad was addressing the Assembly, which is why the Council has decided to defer Earth's petition for full membership status for another 15 standard cycles, the 8-limbed Myriad was saying, his voice a soothing modulation that Elena had long ago recognized as particularly condescending. The developmental matrices indicate that human cultural integration is still enough. Elena's voice cut through the chamber, silencing Tolvec mid-sentence. This breach of protocol, interrupting a High Chancellor, caused an immediate ripple of whispers throughout the Assembly. Ambassador Reyes. Tolvec's eye stalks swiveled toward her. You have not been recognized by the chair. Elena walked steadily toward the central platform, the sound of her boots echoing in the suddenly quiet chamber. For 78 years, Earth has respectfully followed your protocols, Chancellor. 78 years of contributing to this alliance while being treated as children. That ends today. She reached the platform and faced the Assembly rather than addressing only the Council as protocol demanded. Another breach. Humanity entered this alliance in good faith. We brought with us medical technologies that have saved billions of lives across 100 worlds. Our physicists revolutionized interstellar travel. Our linguists created the universal translator that makes this very assembly possible. Her voice remained steady, amplified throughout the chamber. In return, we have been patronized, marginalized, and exploited. Chancellor Tolvec moved to activate his override, but Elena had anticipated this. Marcus had disabled the Council's ability to cut her transmission. Yet another protocol violation that would have serious consequences if they were staying. Effective immediately, Earth and all human colonies are withdrawing from the Galactic Alliance. The chamber erupted. Delegates rose from their seats, some shouting, others making the various gestures of alarm or disbelief unique to their species. The Vaishine delegation's bioluminescence flashed in patterns of agitation. This is most irregular. Tolvec's voice strained to be heard over the commotion. You cannot simply withdraw. There are procedures, treaties, obligations. Elena removed the Alliance communicator from her wrist, the symbol of her diplomatic status, and placed it on the platform. We have followed your procedures for 3 generations, Chancellor. They have proven to be instruments of delay and control, not progress. As for treaties and obligations, she looked around the chamber. Humanity has fulfilled every obligation demanded of us. More than fulfilled. The Alliance, however, has consistently failed to honor its commitments to Earth. Ambassador Krell of the Dorneri stepped forward, his massive frame looming over Elena. This tantrum displays precisely why humans are not ready for full status. Return to your seat, Ambassador Reyes, And perhaps the Council will overlook this emotional outburst. Elena met his 4 eyes without flinching. This is not an outburst, Ambassador Krell. This is the unanimous decision of Earth's Global Council after decades of patience. We are not seeking your approval or permission. We are informing you of our decision. She addressed the entire chamber again. In 12 standard hours, all human representatives will depart Alliance space. All human trade vessels will return to Earth territories. All human technologies currently integrated into Alliance infrastructure will enter autonomous shutdown sequences. This last statement caused a different kind of stir, one of genuine alarm rather than mere indignation. The Vaisheen representative glided forward, her translucent form pulsing with concerned lights. Surely this is hyperbole, Ambassador. The medical facilities on 17 outer worlds rely entirely on human biotech. The primary communication relays for the entire southern quadrant are built on human quantum principles. You cannot simply turn them off. We can, and we will, Elena replied. For too long, the Alliance has benefited from human innovation while denying us an equal voice. That arrangement is over. Chancellor Tolvek had regained his composure. The Council will not be blackmailed, Ambassador. If Earth proceeds with this reckless action, there will be consequences. Elena finally allowed herself a small smile. There certainly will be, Chancellor. Just not for Earth. With that, she turned and walked out of the Grand Chamber, followed by the entire human delegation. Behind them, the carefully ordered proceedings of the Alliance dissolved into chaos. Back on the embassy deck, Elena watched as the last human transport prepared for departure. All around Centauri Station, human ships were disengaging from docking ports, a synchronized withdrawal that was being mirrored across Alliance space. Operation Silent Dawn is proceeding on schedule, Marcus reported. 92% of human personnel have already left Alliance territory. The technology shutdowns will commence in exactly 4 hours. Elena nodded. And the border defenses, online and operational. The hidden fleet has moved into position. For decades, while officially complying with Alliance limitations on military capacity, Earth had been secretly building. Deep in uninhabited systems, away from Alliance monitoring, humanity had constructed what would have been impossible to hide in normal space, a fleet that outmatched anything the Alliance could mobilize. Ships with technologies the Alliance believed were theoretical at best. Ambassador, Marcus hesitated. The Council has sent 17 urgent communications in the last hour alone. I'm aware. They're threatening military action. Elena turned to look at her aide. Are they now? Interesting how quickly they've escalated from dismissing us as children to threatening us with destruction, almost as if they know exactly what we're capable of. Marcus shifted uncomfortably. The Myriad and Vaisheen delegates are requesting private communications. They're claiming they've always supported Earth's advancement but were blocked by the Dornari faction. Of course they are. Elena picked up her personal datapad. The inevitable blame game begins. Deny all requests for now. Let them stew in uncertainty for a while. And if they attack? Elena's expression hardened. Then they will learn exactly why treating humans as a negligible factor was their greatest mistake. As their transport pulled away from Centauri Station, Elena watched the massive structure diminish with distance, the heart of galactic politics and power for millennia, now thrown into disarray by humanity's departure. You know they won't let this stand, Marcus said quietly. The Alliance has never faced a challenge like this in its history. That's precisely the problem, Elena replied. They'd grown complacent, bureaucratic, hierarchical. They'd forgotten how to adapt. She turned away from the viewport as the station vanished from view. Humans, on the other hand, have never stopped adapting. It's time the galaxy was reminded of that. The transport accelerated toward the jump point that would take them back to Earth space, leaving behind a political earthquake that would reshape the galaxy. The Reckoning. 6 months after humanity's dramatic departure from the Galactic Alliance, High Chancellor Tolvek of the Myriad stared at the reports flooding his private chamber with growing alarm. What had begun as a diplomatic crisis had cascaded into a systemic collapse that threatened the very foundation of the alliance. The Proxima Centauri medical hub has completely shut down, his aide reported. That's the 18th major medical facility to fail in the past month. The death toll is. I can read the numbers myself, Tolvek snapped, his usual calm demeanor fracturing under pressure. What about the retrofitting efforts? Failed, Chancellor. Our engineers can't replicate the base principles of human biotech. It's as if some fundamental understanding is missing. That was putting it mildly. Across Alliance space, the carefully concealed extent of human technological integration was becoming painfully apparent. Systems that had been stable for decades were failing in cascading patterns. Attempts to reverse engineer human technologies had been disastrous. In some cases, literally explosive. The Voshin research team on Rigel Prime was able to bring one communication relay back online. The aide continued, but it functioned for only 6 hours before degrading. Tolvek's eye stalks drooped in frustration. The Alliance had severely underestimated humanity's technological sophistication. What they had dismissed as simple innovations turned out to be built on principles so advanced that Alliance scientists couldn't even comprehend the foundational concepts. And the military situation. The aide's exoskeleton clicked nervously. The Dorneri attempted to penetrate human space yesterday. 3 battlecruisers. Tolvek felt a sense of dread. And they encountered some kind of energy field at the border. When they attempted to breach it, the aide's voice faltered. The ships simply disintegrated. No debris, no escape pods. Just gone. Tolvek sank into his support chair. The Dorneri battlecruisers were supposed to be the most powerful warships in the galaxy, and humans had dismissed them like insects. There's more, Chancellor. The Trade Coalition reports critical shortages of essential resources on 27 worlds. The Phylaxian Republic is threatening to leave the Alliance if supply chains aren't restored. The Havarax Concordat has already withdrawn its delegation. The Alliance, stable for over 6,000 years, was unraveling in a matter of months. We need to contact Earth, Tolvek said finally. We've been trying, Chancellor. They're not responding to official channels. Tolvek's frustration pulsed visibly through his translucent skin. Then find unofficial ones. On Earth, in the newly constructed Global Council headquarters in Geneva, Alina Reyes reviewed the latest intelligence with quiet satisfaction. The Alliance is coming apart at the seams, General Cato said, gesturing to the holographic display showing political alignments across former Alliance space. The Phylaxians are now openly trading with us despite Alliance sanctions. The Havarax have formally requested bilateral relations. Elena nodded. And the big 3. The Dorneri are doubling down on military posturing, but after losing those battle cruisers, it's mostly bluster. The Vashin are sending back-channel peace feelers through 3 different neutral species, and the Myriad. Cato smiled slightly. Chancellor Tolvek has personally requested a private audience with you. Elena raised an eyebrow. Has he now? How? Unprecedented. There's something else you should see. Cato adjusted the display to show a sector near the former Alliance border. We're detecting unusual movement patterns. Multiple species gathering in neutral space, former enemies in some cases. They're forming their own coalitions. Elena observed. Interesting. The door to the chamber opened, and Marcus Chen entered, looking slightly uncomfortable. Ambassador, Counselor Rice, there's a situation. A Myriad diplomatic vessel is requesting permission to enter Earth space. Chancellor Tolvek is aboard. Elena's eyes widened slightly. He came personally, without an invitation or prior arrangement. Yes, ma'am. He claims it's a matter of galactic security. Elena exchanged glances with General Cato, who looked equally surprised. Well, this is unexpected, she said. The mighty Tolvek, who couldn't be bothered to visit Earth in 78 years of alliance, suddenly finds us worthy of his presence. Should I have them turned away? Marcus asked. Alina considered for a moment. No. Escort them to the Geneva facility. Full security protocols, of course. After Marcus left, General Cato looked at Alina with concern. Are you sure that's wise? Having the leader of the Alliance on Earth gives them significant intelligence opportunities. Let them look, Alina replied. What they'll see is that we're not just surviving without the Alliance. We're thriving. That will send a stronger message than any diplomatic posturing. Chancellor Tolvec had never set foot on Earth before. As his shuttle descended through the atmosphere, he was struck by the planet's vibrancy. Swirling blue oceans, green and brown landmasses, white cloud formations dancing across the surface. The cradle of a species the Alliance had consistently underestimated. The shuttle landed at a designated diplomatic port outside Geneva. Tolvec was surprised to see Alina Reyes herself waiting on the landing pad, accompanied by a small honor guard. Chancellor, she greeted him as he emerged from the vessel. Welcome to Earth. Councillor Reyes, he replied, using her new title in acknowledgement of the changed circumstances. I appreciate your willingness to receive me on such short notice. Alina's expression remained professionally neutral. It's not every day the High Chancellor of the Galactic Alliance makes a personal visit, especially to a world he previously deemed insufficiently advanced for his attention. Tolvec's eye stalks twitched in discomfort at the direct reference to past slights. Perhaps we could speak somewhere more private. The meeting chamber in the Global Council headquarters offered a panoramic view of the Alps. Tolvec noticed that unlike the environmental accommodations the Alliance provided for different species, the humans had made only minimal adjustments to the atmosphere and gravity for his comfort. I'll be direct, Counselor, Tolvec began once they were seated. The Alliance is facing unprecedented challenges in the wake of Earth's withdrawal. I'm aware, Alina replied coolly. 17 medical facilities have completely failed. Communication across 3 quadrants is deteriorating. Trade routes are collapsing. And now, member species are beginning to withdraw from the Alliance entirely. His voice took on a tone of genuine concern. The stability of the galaxy is at risk. Alina studied him for a moment. And you believe Earth is responsible for this? Your withdrawal triggered these events, yes. No, Chancellor. Your policies over 7 decades triggered these events. Our withdrawal merely revealed the true nature of the Alliance, a hierarchical system that exploited the innovations of lesser species while denying them equal standing. Tolvec's frustration flickered across his features. What does Earth want, Counselor? Name your terms for returning to the Alliance and restoring the technologies you withdrew. Alina actually laughed at this. You still don't understand, do you? We're not interested in returning to the old Alliance. That chapter is closed. Then what do you want? There was a hint of desperation in his voice now. Alina leaned forward. A new beginning. Not an alliance where ancient species dictate terms to everyone else, but a true galactic federation where all member worlds have equal standing and representation. That's unprecedented. So does the current situation, Alina replied. The old power structures are already crumbling, Chancellor. You can either help build something better in their place, or watch as the galaxy fragments into competing blocks, many of which will align with Earth rather than the Alliance. Tolvec was silent for a long moment. The Myriad have led the Alliance for 6,000 years. You're asking us to surrender that position. I'm asking you to evolve, Alina corrected, to recognize that the galaxy has changed. The Myriad would still have an important voice, just not the only voice. And if we refuse, Alina gestured toward the window, then you return to an alliance that grows weaker by the day, while Earth and its new partners forge a different path. The choice is yours, but I recommend you choose wisely. History rarely offers second chances. Tolvec's eye stalks drooped slightly. I will need to consult with the Council. Of course, you have 48 hours. The Chancellor looked startled. That's hardly enough time, To. It's more time than you ever gave us, Alina interrupted. The galaxy is changing at an unprecedented rate, Chancellor. Those who cannot adapt quickly will be left behind. 2 days later, Earth broadcast a message across all former Alliance channels. Elena Reyes stood before the camera, the Earth and stars behind her. For too long, the galaxy has operated under a system that prizes age over innovation, tradition over progress, and hierarchy over equality. Today, that changes. Earth extends an invitation to all worlds, whether former Alliance members or independent systems, to join the new Galactic Federation. The broadcast displayed the charter of this new organization, emphasizing equal representation, technological sharing, and mutual defense. No species will be deemed too young or too different for full participation. No world will be denied access to life-saving technologies. No voice will be silenced in our deliberations. Behind her, representatives from 23 former Alliance worlds and 15 previously unaffiliated systems stood in support, including, most surprisingly, a myriad delegation. Chancellor Tolvec has demonstrated true leadership by recognizing that the future requires new approaches. Elena continued, "The myriad, along with any other former Alliance members who wish to join us, will be welcomed as equals, no more, no less." The message concluded with a simple statement: the stars belong to all of us. Within a month, over 60% of former Alliance worlds had joined the Federation. The Dornari attempted one final military action against Earth, only to find their fleet surrounded not just by human defenses, but by ships from a dozen different species. The message was clear. The era of domination by the ancient few was over. A new galactic order had emerged, sparked by humanity's refusal to accept second-class status, but built on the shared desire of countless species for a more equitable galaxy. As Elena watched the first official assembly of the Galactic Federation from her office, Marcus joined her. "Did you ever imagine this outcome when you walked out of the Alliance chamber 6 months ago?" he asked. Elena smiled slightly. "Not exactly like this, no. But I knew one thing for certain." "What's that?" "That underestimating humanity's determination was the biggest mistake the Alliance ever made." Outside, the stars seemed brighter somehow, as if reflecting the promise of a new beginning.